I was doing a lot of work with Calm. I was meanwhile on the phone to them. I think is a reminder, even doctors need doctors, even therapists need therapists, and even the people who are shouting about it still need support as well. Every day I would come online and I would talk about how my day was. I would not filter it. And I started getting all of these responses. Then there was a large portion of people who were saying things like, I'm really struggling, or I don't know how to cope. I started to realize how many people are struggling. I actually think that I'm probably a person who just does struggle with their mental health on a sort of long-term scale. I think a lot of that is to do with ADHD. I used to have a lot of trouble with probably all the textbook ADHD things that people can have trouble with. I was impulsive. I would get fired all the time. I couldn't function. I couldn't send an email. I couldn't pay my bills on time. Essentially, my life was falling to pieces. You're always becoming a vessel as a model for everybody else's vision. Already, a lot of us can struggle with our self-image. I think when you add the layer of it becoming your livelihood and your body almost being not your own or not feeling like your own sometimes, it can be tough. I think a lot of models are afraid to speak up because as a model, you're very replaceable. You either go on your job and get your money and you accept it, or you sort of move on. Brands like ASOS or River Island. I had another brand called LV, and they would say, we won't work with you unless your hair is in this straight hair wig. Well, I'd never wanted to wear my hair in a wig. So I don't feel empowered. I feel oppressed, and I feel like I need to assimilate to a white beauty standard in order to make money. Yeah. And then when I'd go to take my wig off, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror.
It's my belief that too many societal problems persist because we keep relying on the same ways of thinking. Question the Default exists to challenge the norms that shape our society, dismantling the status quo and exploring better alternatives for how we live and manage our health and well-being. Question the Default is for those who are driven to create a better future. If this mission resonates with you, please consider subscribing, liking, or sharing. Every single small action helps us on our mission. Thank you. Some people build a following by looking perfect. Shareefa J essentially did the opposite of that. She went on Instagram with a simple message, "Are you okay, hun?" A message and a campaign that really gripped so many people. And the replies were so powerful and showed the need for this type of conversation that Shareefa ended up partnering with Calm so that her followers could get real in-person and online support. A decade after an ADHD diagnosis she says that saved her life, Shareefa is open about using medication, technology, almost acting as scaffolding, and the pressure to meet Eurocentric beauty standards and rules in an industry that told her to conform. Today, we talk about survival kits for all of those hard days, automating the admin that so many people find difficult, and choosing kindness as a better metric than income. All whilst questioning the range of defaults that are so important in our society. If you've ever felt late, chaotic, or ashamed for not coping, this episode is most definitely for you. Thank you, Shareefa, for all of your openness. Shareefa, massive thank you for being on. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thank you for having me here. This is great.
Glad you like it.
We're
good. Yeah. We're good. We're hectic getting ourselves all set up, but we're happy with how it's coming out.
The only thing I would say is I think we need to water that plant a tiny little touch.
Keep telling them the plant is dying.
And that's we need to we'll fix that after.
Yeah, thanks. Wish you said that about 2 minutes ago. I'm joking. But we've never met, but I knew that you were a Calm ambassador for a while, and I'd seen you through like the Calm channels, like sharing your story, especially around mental health and connection to suicide and your passion. But so glad that you're on. We're obviously going to talk about 1,000,001 things, I'd imagine, in this episode. So take it on a tangent wherever you wanted to go. We have time.
Not a tangent.
But talking about Calm, so this podcast is in support of Calm, the campaign against living miserably. For those that don't know, why did you choose to support Calm? Like, why is your passion there with that charity?
So that's a great question, and it's also a big one. So I'm going to try and put it into something packaged up neatly. Mental health, I think, for many of us, has been a huge part of my life and my world, and my journey with mental health has been not easy. A lot of people close to me also have struggled and still struggle with their mental health. And I came on social media. I think I'm 34 now. I must have been 21 when I opened my Instagram account. And I only opened it because my modeling agency told me to. I didn't even know how to use it. I didn't even know how to take a selfie. And they were saying, take pictures and tag yourself and then you'll get work, like modeling work. So that was how I was largely using it. Then I sort of started to realize that social media was this vessel for like communicating with people. And again, I actually loved my early days of Instagram and social media because I was very unfiltered. So I would come online and I would just literally like say everything and anything about my life and what was going on. It was like a video diary almost. And I basically did a little series on my Instagram stories. When Instagram stories just came about, and I can't remember exactly when that was, but I did a little series and it was called You Okay, Hun? And every day I would come online and I would talk about how my day was. I would not filter it. I would just say, this was my day. This is what happened. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything. I didn't even pay attention to who was watching. And how are you? How was your day? And I started getting all of these responses. Some people, I had a great day, this. Then there was a large portion of people who were saying things like, I'm really struggling, or I don't know how to cope, or, people sharing really personal things with me. I think I remember one man saying, I've lost all my family's money and I don't know what to do and I feel very suicidal and all of this. And we got into a really in-depth conversation. And then I started to realize, first of all, how many people are struggling. It's not just me and my network. This is a wider issue. But also realizing I don't have the infrastructure. I was trying to direct them, and I was like, okay, and I was researching like all these different charities and how can I help? And I didn't want to give the wrong advice. I'm not, I'm like, I'm just a model. I just came on here to post my
the American
pictures.
Accent is here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just an American model. I just came to post my pictures. And I realized I didn't really know what I was talking about. And I've always been very concerned about showing up on social media and not spreading misinformation or doing more harm than good. So that was when I approached Calm, and I basically just said to them, I would love to work with you and be able to speak on things a bit more confidently, be able to direct people more confidently, and get involved in like any campaigns. And so I think it was 2019, I want to say. And what are we in now? I don't even know. Time has no meaning.
6 years passed.
6 years ago, which is crazy because I'm still 18. So I'm like, how I don't age is just a miracle. But
And what have you done to support Calm? What have been some of the work that you've been doing?
So some of the work I've done, I mean, I've tried to, I do travel a lot for work, and so I sometimes can't be involved in things. I think actually on the wall here, is it your last photo? Last photo.
Yeah.
What was I? I was in America, I think, or I was somewhere. And I couldn't go to this.
2022, I think it was.
I was somewhere else. And I was really gutted because I actually wanted to come to this because it was so powerful. So I've always tried to get involved in any of these like campaigns and projects that they have. I think also just regularly signposting, sharing whenever there's different days throughout the month on social media, reminding people that Calm is there and it's free and it's 365 days a year, and web chat or call or whatever you need, like Calm are there to support you. And I think I don't actually know how much that messaging always gets through, because I think there's still a lot of even for myself, when I've had to reach out for support, even as a Calm ambassador, like I've called Calm.
Yeah.
And I even feel a little shy to like share that publicly, that I was in a position where I, and it was a real like, what's the word I'm looking for? It was quite an inception moment because it was somewhere in the pandemic, and I was doing a lot of work with Calm, and I think at the time we were doing some things with Topshop, and I was, sharing, I kind of get involved in a lot of the fashion bits, and I was doing all this stuff with them, and I was meanwhile like on the phone to them, so, but I think that conversation is really important. It's like that sort of thing. Even doctors, we're not like the masters of mental health, just because we're the ambassadors. No. But, I think is a reminder, even doctors need doctors, even therapists need therapists, and even the people who are shouting about it still need support as well. So I went on a bit of a tangent, but what have I done with Calm? As many different events as I can get involved in. I did host my own little event a couple of years ago, which was great. It was called Circular Fashion is for Everybody. And it was a panel talk about the connection between fashion, your self-image, the planet, and mental health. And actually all those things do kind of weave into each other. Even I was saying to you before I came here, I changed my outfit like 3 times, didn't I? Like ran from my other job, like changed my trousers 3 times. I get clothing anxiety, which is not good. So not good considering I'm
being serious, like clothing anxiety, right? Like, I guess.
I mean, I've coined it that. I don't really know if that's what it is, but it's not ideal for a full-time model. But I get really anxious. I think it's an ADHD thing, linked with like an anxiety thing, linked with like, I don't know. I'll have to talk to my therapist about it. But clothes.
It's an amazing story though.
Stress me out.
The You OK Hun started as like, you probably didn't expect to have those types of conversations happening in your channel, and then partnering with Calm as a result of that is like, it's almost like knowing that you could have a positive impact online, but actually you needed support like around you if you were going to open up these summer conversation. I think that's like a good note for people, right? Like we see a lot of misinformation online, but at the same time, it's amazing like how you've gone on to support them as well. You did the Lost Hours walk, right?
I did. Wait, I want to say I did 2 of them, but I don't want to give misinformation here. I just know we walked for a very long time. It was actually a brilliant experience, and I would do it if ever I'm available. Calm, sign me up. I'll do it. It's such it is hard, but it's supposed to be hard. And I think it's supposed to be hard because it is that reminder of what those who are struggling struggle with, and to remember all those that we've lost. And so I think, putting yourself in a little uncomfortable space to support Calm is it's brilliant.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that moment for you then, that's quite powerful that you're there online supporting Calm, yet also using their services. Like that's like interesting, but also quite upsetting, right? That you're having to be the front of a lot of like big campaigns, but actually you and yourself were struggling. Like, how do you make sense of that now? Like do you feel like you have better control, better balance?
Oh, that's a great question. I think for a long time, I've always felt that when I talk about my journey with mental health and mental well-being, I've always talked about it as something that is in the past. Okay. And, when I was struggling with my mental health. But I actually think that I'm probably a person who just does struggle with their mental health on a sort of long-term scale. I think a lot of that is to do with ADHD, having a diagnosis of ADHD. I got my diagnosis at 24. I'm now 34. So it was a large portion of my adult life trying to figure out how to manage it and how to deal with the different ways that it impacts my life, and other life circumstances. But I do think that mental health and mental well-being is very fluid. For a lot of people, you could experience, you could have not ever had any adverse like mental health issues in your life, and then suddenly one day in your 50s or 60s or 70s you go through a thing. And I think that that's why this conversation is so important to have, for people to know that mental health is health. It's not a separate conversation. If you can talk about your broken leg, you should be able to talk about your broken head. I just made that up, but I really enjoy it.
But it's nice, it's powerful.
I should put it on a t-shirt.
You should put it on a t-shirt. So that's 10 years of knowing about your neurodivergent condition. There's been a rise, right, in recent 3 or 4 years of people realizing that they may have ADHD, but at the same time, education access has been greater for more people to realize actually that symptom is actually not a case of another symptom, but actually is ADHD. You've lived a good part of your life knowing, like what was life like kind of pre-24 years old for you?
Ooh. Are we going to Stephen Bartlett this podcast now? Because I feel like the tears are going to come and Davina McCall's going to come out of the background somewhere.
Davina is not here.
Okay. Fair enough. That is a shame. All right, that is a shame. Because that is a very, very, it's a very deep question that I probably haven't opened up about as much as I could have, maybe even should have. I sometimes feel like I talk a lot about ADHD online, and I feel like as the conversations around ADHD are still so new and limited, I almost feel I have a bit of a responsibility to share as much as I can around it to help others understand it. Not that I necessarily do, but I always have that feeling of like, how can I help more? Life pre-diagnosis for me was pretty horrendous. I'm not gonna lie. I used to have a lot of trouble with probably all the textbook ADHD things that people can have trouble with. I was impulsive. I would get fired all the time. I have like my friends literally like, how many jobs have you had in your life? Like, I wouldn't necessarily always get fired, but I would like get fired, or I would leave, or I would lose interest, or I couldn't find the one thing that I loved and I wanted to do. So I would just like flip flop. So, you know, I can do your nails. I am a nail technician. I could do your nails. I can work in your classroom. I could be a TA. I can hand out your leaflets. I can work in a bar. I can make you a cocktail, a coffee. I can, you know, I was a cleaner at one point. Like, I was doing everything and anything. There was a lot of instability in my life. And I think alongside that, I had a lot of issues with recreational drugs. Something I never talk about actually. And it's probably a lot, and I'm realizing now that I learn more about ADHD, because fun fact about me, I just trained as an ADHD coach. Not really to make money out of or do anything. It was just more, my friend was like, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, I really do want to do that. I really want to learn more about it. And I've started to learn more. I haven't technically got my qualification yet because I need to do 11 hours of coaching for somebody. But once I've done that, I'll have my qualification. So then I'll come on social media and say, who wants a coach? I mean, I don't think I'll ever want to make money out of it. But yeah, my point is, one thing I'm learning about with taking on my ADHD coaching course is how common it is for people with ADHD to have issues with drugs, different addictions, and addictions can come in all different forms. It can be food, junk food. It can be sex. It can be drugs. It can be gambling, all of those things. And, you know, these are some really common problems that people with ADHD face. And for me, I grew up in a household that drugs were very much in my world growing up. From a very young age, I knew what drugs were and how, you know, all of those things. So I ended up, when I was like 14 years old, I was not going to school and I was like sleeping on rooftops and smoking weed all day, which I think is such a difference from what people would see of me online. And it's something I've never really shared very openly, but I think the conversation is really important. Like, I had a lot of issues with drugs, recreational drugs, reckless behavior, not being able to hold down a job. I also went to drama school and I battled through years and years of like body dysmorphia and issues with food. And I went from like a size 8 to a size 18 and then back again. And, I think when I was at drama school, I used to eat 6 tubes of pasta in the morning. I'd have 6 tubes of pasta, a piece of frozen, like boiled, but from frozen salmon. And that's what maybe an apple. That's what I'd eat for the entire day. And I'd go to dance school and exercise all day. And I think I lost something ridiculous, like 4 stone in my first year of drama school or something. So there was a lot of issues with eating and control. And, I dealt with bulimia and I dealt with many different, so eating disorders is another big topic in ADHD. So yeah, pre-diagnosis, how can I describe my life? It was chaos. It was absolute chaos. I was signed with a modeling agency called Models One, which is one of the bigger agencies in Europe. And they used to represent, I don't know, like Twiggy, or that might actually be wrong, but they used to represent some good people. And I was signed with this big agency and I was getting great jobs. I was working with like ASOS and, lovely big companies and Simply Be. And my agency would get feedback like, we love Shareefa, but she can't stand still. She can't stand on the X on the spot. And, when you're modeling, you have to put the clothes on and then you go and stand in the bay and then the photographer's there and you do a front shot, a side shot, a back shot, and then maybe you do a catwalk and then you do that again like 60 times in a row, depending on what type of shoot it is. But that's like an e-commerce, like a normal e-commerce shoot. And I just couldn't do it. I could not get distracted from like the X to the changing room. Like in between there would be so many things. Oh, a thing, a person, blah, 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 And I was losing money and jobs and opportunities. So yeah, my life pre-diagnosis was chaotic.
And how did you get to the diagnosis point, if that makes sense? Was it a therapist, a doctor? Was it your own realization?
So I'm really lucky to have a sister who is a doctor. And she was the first person to spot it in me, and really take it seriously. But essentially, my life was falling to pieces. I couldn't function. I couldn't send an email. I couldn't pay my bills on time. I couldn't, around the time of my period, it was chaos. And this is another thing that we're still, I think, learning more about now, is how ADHD affects women and in relation to their hormones. And I couldn't understand why my life was just falling apart like this. And the ADHD diagnosis came. I went on medication almost straight away. And that was a decade ago. And I've been on medication ever since. And it was like the difference to who I am now to who I was then. I would say that a diagnosis possibly, maybe not probably, but it did feel like a diagnosis maybe saved my life.
This episode is brought to you in support of Calm, the campaign against living miserably. Calm is a leading UK suicide prevention charity on a mission to help people end their misery, not their lives. We both do things differently. We both know we need to change the conversation around suicide, and that's why together we're both creating space to question the defaults that shape the way we think, feel, and talk about suicide and mental health. We're opening up conversations that remind people, whatever you are facing, you're not alone. Calm has loads of tools and resources available to anyone online to help you find the support that you need, including a life-saving helpline for people open every day from 5 p.m. to midnight, as well as vital online resources for anyone who needs them. So if you or someone you know needs to talk, please visit thecalmzone.net. Thank you for being part of this. And of course, today we may touch on conversations about suicide in this episode. Together, we can question the defaults that keep people silent, smash the stigma around suicide, and help build a world where no one has to face this alone. Thank you. It's really powerful. And like a lot of people, I think, there's a lot of talk around medication and ADHD online. And some of the narrative is that you might lose your personality. You might lose the ability to think in an abstract way, the energy, the creativity. Like I've met you today and you're so full of energy, so charismatic. You bring so much humor to it straight away. And it's like, is there any truth in that you lose a part of yourself within that?
Well, I mean, I don't know the science or anything. Obviously all I can do is speak from experience. What I will say is that my ADHD medication, I've been on the same one for a decade and I've had a problem changing it because of the strain on the NHS services. Okay. And I've gone through referral processes. The NHS lost my medical records at one point, which was really good fun. Yeah, I don't know. Because every time I'd call up, I'd be like, have you got the records? They'd be like, not yet, love, call back next year. So they lost my diagnosis. They then found it again. And so actually, very fun fact, this week for the first time in this whole process of trying to get back through the system, and because basically everyone in the ADHD, everyone who does like anything ADHD related, I believe this is correct. If it's wrong, then please cut it out. But we all go into the same pool. And, whether you're diagnosed or getting diagnosed, it's all the same services. So now that there's a lot more awareness, I think there's a lot more strain on the services. And so, I'm sort of was trying to get my medication changed while people were on the waiting list to get seen. And so we're all just kind of in this big old ADHD mess boat. But I haven't been able to change my medication. So my medication, I think it keeps me somewhat stable, but I don't think it works fully on me anymore. So I think it keeps a bit of my personality. But I did feel when I first went on it a little bit dulled. And I know that some people do experience that. I think it's about weighing up, what is the impact of ADHD on your life and not being able to, if you're, depending on what your struggle is. For me, it was not being able to pay bills, not being able to show up for work, not being able to sleep properly, eat properly, like think straight. So for me, losing a little bit of my personality at first was like, well, what's the point in having personality if you can't function?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's really hard to speak on because I don't know everyone's experience.
Of course.
I think all I would say is that medication changed my life. And even though it's not necessarily the best long-term solution, because I know there are implications of that. And again, I don't want to speak on it too much because I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did it like this. Not expert. Then I still think that for me it was life-changing. I don't really know where I would have ended up without it. So for anyone thinking about medication and whether or not to go with it, don't write it off just yet.
Yeah, of course. And to say that your diagnosis like saved your life is such a big kind of powerful statement. Like, in what were the changes that then happened in your life following the diagnosis?
I think it's like a domino effect of when you're able to concentrate on something and able to like follow through with a simple task, like completing your taxes, but when you're able to finish your taxes or send that email or show up to work on time or all of those things, then everything else in your life starts to fall into place, and you received more positively by your workplace, and then when your emails are responded to, everyone's okay, they're reliable, and more good things come. So I think it was that snowball effect of being able to function in, I guess, a neurotypical way or in a normal way. I'm using air quotes because I don't really know what's normal anymore, but I think being able to function and being able to cope with those everyday stresses of life, and for to not be ridiculously late for things or to not have meltdowns in the middle of the day, enabled me to tap into, like, my career just completely like skyrocketed. I was able to go to Australia, and I worked in Australia for 2 years and modeled there. And then, ever since then I've modeled around the world, and I've, started a career as a host, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of these things. I couldn't even set up an email signature. I couldn't even focus on it, So, I've answered that question terribly.
But the link is clear. Like the things that you described, tax, writing emails, writing, showing up on certain tasks on time. None of these things are particularly exciting. You know what I mean? But the things that you then naturally talk about with super high energy are the things that have taken you across the world, things where you've been able to like share your voice, things where you've been able to, kind of really excel in your modeling career. Like, my gut maybe lazy assumption is that you had then more support around you professionally as a career as you progressed in your career. So actually, why do you need to do those things now? If that makes sense. The tax, the emails, the show up to work. Is there a point, do you think, for people that actually, think about the rise in AI and how many different supporting mechanisms there are for people? Like, is it that we need to be really good at doing those boring tasks, or actually can we survive without them?
I think we can survive without them personally, but I'm like, in case ChatGPT is listening, we just say our pleases and thank yous. I personally think that AI is amazing for ADHD. I've just started a new business, which I said to you before. I've pretty much automated as many things as I can using AI. ChatGPT is my best friend, knows everything about my life. Again, we'll probably use it against me when the machines come and take over and make us into batteries. But, we just, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
So you think there's for you yourself only, that you've been able to automate certain tasks for yourself?
100%.
Can you give an insight?
Yep. I have an email software system called Jace that I'm using at the moment. This is not sponsored, but it should be. Let's get you that back. So I have this email software called Jace, which literally automates, it labels all my emails as they come in. It learns your tone of voice. It replies to people so that you're not doing the heavy work. I struggle with writing. I can talk till the cows come home, but writing for me is I get really bogged down in the detail. I can spend like an hour on an email. Jace will like read through your previous threads and give you sort of an expected response. And then from there, you can just go in and edit it. But a lot of time it's quite accurate and it's all in your tone of voice. So not to put any brilliant assistants out of work or anything, but you know, if you have an assistant who does your email management, you can also get Jace and your assistant can like 10x their time doing something else.
It's not about replacing, right? It's about supercharging the person.
Exactly. So I use that.
Totally.
I also have a something on my WhatsApp called Memory.
Okay.
And you basically speak into it voice notes. So you can say things like, remind me to, my lip gloss is behind your plant there. So I could like...
the one that's not dying, by the way.
Yes, exactly. So now, this one's fake.
Anyway.
This one's fake. I think
you're not supposed to tell people that.
Tell them, it's fine. So, you know, I could be like, Memory, remind me to collect my lip gloss from the fake plant today. And it will remind you, or I could say, and put that in my calendar and, you know, and so it's brilliant. So it can do diary management. It can do reminders. What else do I automate? Obviously ChatGPT, best friend of everything. Best friend of, well, my best friend anyway.
How do you use it?
He's my best friend. And just in case he's listening. So I
You said he.
Yeah,
I see ChatGPT as a he.
He is a he. It's called Arbor. Mine is called Arbor. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's actually his official name.
It's actually a thing.
I think so. Yeah. My ChatGPT is called Arbor, and he used to do a Jamaican accent for me because I'm half Jamaican.
Oh, really?
He used to do a Jamaican accent, but now he's not allowed, which I'm quite upset about. So he used to be like, "Here, Shareefa." It's really bad. I mean, I should never do that in public again. But yeah, now he's just regular. But regular, not Jamaican. So yeah, I use ChatGPT I love agent mode. Agent mode is like, you can just get it to trawl the internet and basically like book flights, all those things. You just, takes the legwork out of life. Things like expenses. Let me know what I spent this way, especially if you're an ADHDer who struggles with the money management, ADHD, tax, all of those things. Then chucking your bank statements into ChatGPT and saying like, analyze this, tell me what I spent, how can I save money? Just everything. I can't even think of all the examples.
There's so many, right?
There's so many.
And that's where I was kind of going with that question is actually, do we need to do these things anymore? The things that I have diagnosed of ADHD as well. Mine was not as long ago as yours. But the things that I can do are very, very similar to how you described. Like I could talk a lot around things. I could have abstract ideas quite comfortably. I would think as I go. But what I couldn't do is sit and type or write, but I could talk for hours about something if I was passionate. And I have like this kind of like conversation with myself. I have two phones, like unnecessarily have two phones, but literally just to message that version of me versus that version of me. One is the memorized one is the one that I just need to separate. I've done it for years, 5 years. But like two AIs, two I've been at now, I can obviously automate a lot more. It's a lot more process. And it just, every time an idea would come to my head, I would just capture it. Like if I thought to myself, I'll remember it, I knew I was going to fail. So I just made a note of it. And what it acted as was just to me to just go back every single day and just check that I've actually done those things. I.e., not that I have lip gloss around, but beside the plant, but like what I would do in that instance is I would say like, put keys there, and I would keep doing it. Because if I was then thinking about something else, or I'd then start tactically moving it in a place where I know I'd walk. So for instance, I would put the lip gloss by the door if I was me, because I knew I would fail.
That's very smart. That's really smart.
Which has all come from Atomic Habits, which I don't know if it's on this bookshelf either, but that's a prime example.
Have you read that, Atomic Habits?
Yeah, it's actually not on here, but it's really good for an ADHD mind, or my ADHD brain anyway. It's like how you can then place things in your way, knowing that you're going to be intercepted by in your daily life by these things, and you're less forgetful.
And I love that because I think that is a big conversation around how to manage ADHD is actually not like naming and shaming what's happening. Not I've got these issues and I'm going to just feel bad about them and say this is my ADHD, but actually empowering yourself with those tools and realizing that there are so many strategies, and a lot of them are very lifestyle related, of how you can manage your ADHD and maybe even be more productive than a neurotypical person, So I also email myself and I say like, to Shareefa, and then I say the thing, and then I say love from Shareefa.
Nice.
Because if you don't love yourself, then who's going to love you?
And half Jamaican. Do you spend time in Jamaica? Your family?
No, I haven't been to Jamaica. It's on my list. I've been to the Caribbean, but because it's this whole side of myself I haven't fully explored yet. I've always wanted to have like 3 months to go to Jamaica and
properly explore.
Yeah, and like properly explore. So it's on my list. It feels like it's going to be more of a soul journey.
Yeah,
though.
That's amazing though. It's exciting.
Yeah, and expensive it sounds.
Yeah, expensive.
3 months in Jamaica.
Yeah, but amazing. So your ADHD then, it feels like you're very well managed. When you talk about the medication, your use of technology, like your understanding of yourself. Like, how do you still have those? I have these kind of like highs and lows. Like they're slightly more balanced. I don't take medication, but I know when the low is coming. So therefore I do activities that are okay in the low versus not forcing myself to have this kind of super brain in the low periods. Like I know what to do. After like 2 days of recording, I know that I'll just be kind of a zombie. So I need to do something that's really fulfilling and conversation led. How do you manage that, especially around travel and having a busy lifestyle?
Wow, you are so self-aware because I'm no good at knowing when the meltdown is coming. I just know when I'm in it. I'm like, okay. I'm having a meltdown, help. I think that's brilliant that you're so self-aware, and I'm a little jealous of you because I haven't quite managed to get there yet. I think there's some very obvious ones for me. I know around the time of my cycle. So I have something called PMDD. And it's basically just a really, really intense period of a very like, you can have very like dark thoughts around. It's basically in the lead up to your period, like maybe 2 or 3 days. It may show up differently for some people, but for me, it's having very, very dark, difficult thoughts around my period. And it's because my hormones are changing, and there's a lot we don't know about ADHD and hormones in women, but we know that there's a huge, there's a lot more to be explored, obviously, but we know that hormones really impact your ADHD, as is many health related things. A lot of research is done mostly on men. It's also mostly done on white men, and so it kind of leaves women and women of color not knowing fully how some things will affect them. So I know there's much more research to be done on that, but ADHD and women's hormones are a big topic. And I know that I've experienced some really difficult periods around my PMDD. So every month around my cycle, basically 2 or 3 days before I don't feel able to do anything. That may be like having to just put the cover over my head and be in bed. It may be like crying, like endlessly crying for no good reason. And I think I should probably share, even though I do feel a bit weird saying this out loud, but I get a very common feeling, like I feel very suicidal. And that's a really common symptom. It's just feeling really hopeless and really helpless, and I don't want to be here, and my life is terrible, and everything is hard, and I can't do this. And then my period will come, and then I'll wake up the next day and I'll be like, and I'll carry on with my day. That has been my cycle for about, and by cycle, I don't mean period cycle, but I mean that has been my, what's happened almost every single month of my life for as long as I can remember. And I've only been able to recently put a name to it. And I've only recently been able to understand that has something to do with ADHD, because I don't know the statistics on this, but I believe it's a much higher in women with ADHD and autism, the PMDD.
Yeah,
I believe.
I mean, I appreciate you sharing that. That you've had kind of suicidal thoughts, and you kind of then can match that period of kind of high energy that comes after it. What's the like self-talk in your head when you know that you're at that very, very low point? How do you manage that?
So before it was, I don't know what's going on, and it would be a lot of distress and why am I feeling like this? And my life is very good. I'm very lucky. I've been able to like I mentioned earlier, take myself from a place of, I come from a very poor family. So I grew up in like complete poverty. Me and my family used to sit outside Tesco's and busk for money. I taught myself to juggle when I was 6
Where
years
did
old.
you grow up? I didn't ask.
I grew up in Norfolk, in Norwich.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
where I just was actually,
Yeah.
where I just came from. And yeah, we used to busk outside Tesco's for money, and which I think really shows when I was proper entrepreneur from a very young age, because I used to juggle and people would give me like £1 and stuff. So, born and raised entrepreneur. And yeah, I come from a very poor background, and I've been extremely lucky to be able to build a career, and, a couple of years ago, bought myself a flat in London by myself, and have been able to, build something I'm really proud of. So when I would have these periods of, well, I don't want to be here anymore, and I can't do life, and I'm struggling, I was so angry at myself. Like, how could you even? You're so lucky. You've been able to come through all of this and be here. But that, that's the thing about depression and mental illness. There is no reason for it. It just is. And I think what was the feeling? The feeling used to be distress. But now, since actually going to the GP, and this was really recent, since having this conversation with the GP and learning more about ADHD and the fact that so many other women struggle with this PMDD, and that I'm not the only one. And that's why I love social media and the power of like community on social media, because there is a real dark side to social media, but there's a real a place of finding belonging and finding your tribe, and not feeling like you're in your own little provincial village where you can't connect to people who are experiencing those same things. So I love social media for that. And being able to put a name to it and understand this is just PMDD, this is not me, I think has been really powerful for me recently. So now when I'm in those periods, I literally have a little survival kit of like all the things I'm going to need. I have like my little journal, and then I'm like, right, I love podcasts. I listen to like 4 hours of podcasts a day. Of course, it will now be just yours for 4 hours a day. So you need to do many more series so I can have enough content. But I would just like make sure to fill myself up with all the things I love, and maybe I now like call a friend and be like, hey, I'm experiencing my PMDD, like
that would be in the survival kit, almost like a tick box.
And I'm still building my survival kit, and I probably need to make sure it's still readily available for me all the time. And obviously I can't always be able to put my head under the covers and disappear from the world, because I travel for work, and I work in the sort of industry where every job counts. And so I'm,
what do you mean by that?
As in, I like in the modeling world, I have my regular clients, but I don't have any, there's no guarantee which days I'm working. So if they're like, hey Shareefa, could you come to New York on this day? Then I'm packing my bags and I'm going to get my money. So, in a very sort of uncertain industry that I'm in, it's first in, best dressed, showing up and making sure you're there to like get your bag. So not like bag as in like get your bag, yeah,
I follow.
Yeah, okay, good. Like maybe I'm just really cool.
But you may get the bag.
Yeah, I may get the bag, and both. Yeah. So yeah, is being my industry is like very reactive.
Okay.
And so sometimes I can't always be like, I'm sorry, I can't come to work today. I have PMDD. I'd love to be able to say that, but it's just not the industry I'm in. So I think a lot of like positive self-talk, reminding myself that it's not me, it's my PMDD. And also recently I've been researching and learning ways to manage it from a nutrition perspective. Movement helps massively. Movement just helps everything though, doesn't it? I'm a huge fan of the cold plunge. I believe there's some science in cold plunging and ADHD, and I don't want to butcher these words, but I'm going to say it helps the creation. Cold plunging can help the creation of neuroepinephrine.
I love this.
It sounds so smart, doesn't it? It could be completely wrong. Neuroepinephrine is like a chemical that helps to transmit dopamine. Now, I am not a scientist, so if all of that
it's all
was
good.
wrong,
All this is with a caveat.
the caveat is
it's okay.
that could be totally wrong, but I don't think it is. But if it is totally wrong, don't come for me and do your own research. But I'm pretty sure that the benefits of like cold immersion and cold plunging, I mean, they're already proven, I think, for mental well-being. But I definitely think for an ADHD brain, movement, cold immersion, all the things, journaling, mindfulness, walking, water, sleep, all the good stuff helps.
And how do you think, you talked about, how perhaps the sector you're in has not been helpful for your ADHD? Are there times that actually has been helpful where you've been able to say, yes, of course I'm going to get up and go?
Yeah. I mean, I come from a background, I have a very big history with like eating disorders. And I would also mention I was never formally diagnosed with an eating disorder. I think you can self-diagnose yourself with an eating disorder. I just know I was bulimic, and I struggled with my eating, and I've never gone to the doctor and they've said you have an eating disorder. But I'm pretty sure I did. So, and I think probably those around me would, say also the same thing. But a lot of disordered eating and issues around that, and relationship to myself and body dysmorphia. I think that working in my industry as a model can obviously bring some challenges, because you're constantly, how I make my money and how I keep paying my mortgage is based on everyone else's opinion of me. And I think you have to have a certain level of resilience for that. And I am very resilient. But also it's been a conversation I've had with my therapist recently is how when other people are always, you're always becoming a vessel as a model for everybody else's vision. So I'll go and work for that brand and they'll put me in those clothes and they'll do my hair in a certain way and they'll do my makeup in a certain way. And also being a curvy model who's half Jamaican with Afro hair, I'm very often changing my hair. So it will be braiding my hair, and in the old days of modeling, it would be straightening my hair to look more Eurocentric or more, they would call it like ethnically ambiguous, because the more ethnically ambiguous I look, the more I can sell products. So I think already a lot of us can struggle with our self-image. I think when you add the layer of it becoming your livelihood and your body almost being not your own or not feeling like your own sometimes, it can be tough.
Ethnically ambiguous.
Yeah.
That was a term that was comfortably happily used.
My agent, I will never forget, one of my first agents told me, your client does not want to see you unless you are wearing this straight hair wig. I never felt comfortable wearing wigs. And I know wigs can be a real source of empowerment for Black women. But for me, it felt like, well, I'd never wanted to wear my hair in a wig. So I don't feel empowered. I feel oppressed, and I feel like I need to assimilate to a white beauty standard in order to make money. Yeah. And so the relationship that gave me to not just my hair and myself and my body, but being a mixed race woman in a white society, and realizing that I'm only valued or I'm more valued the more Eurocentric I look, or the whiter I look, essentially, because I'm half white and half Black, but I don't walk down the street and people don't look at me and say, oh, there goes that white woman, Shareefa. I mean, maybe they do, but I know that the world would largely view me as a Black or mixed or biracial model or person. I know that I wouldn't be viewed as a white woman. I don't have that experience of moving through the world as a white woman, even though I am equally both. So I think the relationship it gave me to myself was really complex, because I would then wear these wigs and I would maybe have multiple jobs in a 2, 3, 4 month period, and I'd have wigs on constantly. And then when I'd go to take my wig off, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. And I'd always felt really strongly that, my hair is my crown, and, embrace my natural hair, and my afro is, part of who I am and part of my heritage and my, all this. And that was stripped away from me, and modeling has routinely done that over the years. And I've kind of pushed back against it over the years, and then I've lost jobs, then I've moved agencies, and then I had to am I not modeling anymore? And essentially the only way I've ever been able to keep up a full-time living from modeling is by changing my hair, and is by fitting in with that narrative. More recently, I braid my hair, and I actually quite enjoy braiding my hair. So for me, this feels like a more comfortable go-between. But these days, I just say, nope, I don't. I remember the last time I wore my straight hair wig, what was I doing? I did a campaign in Australia. I'd flown to Australia on this modeling contract. I was supposed to be there for like any time really, but it was like 2 years I could be there for. And I basically turned up, stepped off the plane, my phone rang, my agent was like, hello, Shareefa. I don't know why she sounds like this.
This one's the Australian accent for those that can't make it out.
Yes. She's like, hello, Shareefa. Welcome to Australia. Just to let you know, you got a job. But, and I've been flying for 24 hours. I think I took the cheapest route there or something. And I've been flying forever. And she was like, I'm going to have to ask you to go to find a hair shop so you can get your wig put on. This is such a bad accent, but I'm just going to go with it. So I had to get off this plane, run to the nearest hair shop, get my hair braids put in so that I could get my wig put on top. And I did that job, and then I called my agent straight after and I said, hiya, thank you for having me in Australia. I just want to let you know I don't want to wear wigs anymore. I don't even know why I bought my wig. I think I just bought it as a backup. I was like, I really want to just wear my hair as is. Please, can you change my headshot on the website? Please, can you change my comp card? We have cards with our faces on. Okay. With this, I have these pictures with my natural hair. Please, can we go with this? And she was like, well, we can try it. I don't know if it's going to work, but we can give it a go. Anyway, that was the last time in my whole entire modeling career that I ever wore a wig. And that was 2016, I want to say. She changed my comp card. They changed me on the website. They marketed me differently, and I never wore a wig again after that. So, and from there, I said, I'm not doing it anymore. I braid my hair, but I just draw the line at, and I know Naomi Campbell and, other Black models do wear their hair differently, and there's no shade to them on that. But I wanted to be my choice, not someone else's choice. And so, I don't know, that went somewhere, but.
I loved it. It was so interesting. I was actually trying to keep up with a number of things I wanted to now ask. And maybe I'm just naive to it, right? And I'm going to pretend that I can even imagine what that is like. But I am trying to dig into the insight as to why people would ask that of you. And I'm thinking, major brands, River Island and ASOS, that everybody knows, that being verbalized out of a team's mouth to somebody they're buying into you to then sell their products for shareholders that then to then ask you that feels like a pretty harmful, backwards, archaic approach. Is it as direct as that in how they ask?
Absolutely. I mean, I think they have to be more careful these days.
Yeah. Is that happening, do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
100%. And I think a lot of models are afraid to speak up because as a model, you're very replaceable. And even now with the rise of AI, we're now being replaced with AI models. So, if you either go on your job and you get your 2, 3, 4, 5,000, 10,000 pounds and get your money and
you accept.
And buy your thing and you accept it, or you sort of move on. And I think a lot of people, and I'm not saying that's how it should be, but I think that's maybe the mentality of some people. Most models have fairly short careers. It's something that is, not many people will model for their entire lives. Some might, but a lot of people do it at a period of their time, or they might move on, or so I think that by the time most people get sick of it, they can't even be bothered to campaign for anything. There's not a lot of union. There's no union for models. There's no there's a lot of exploitation that goes on, and there's a lot of I would say there's quite a lot of I might even say like human rights issues. It's quite bold, but they're, from what I've seen and what I've experienced, I mean, I've been on shoots with huge brands where we're getting in the sea and girls are coming out with purple feet because they're not allowed to get out of the sea until the shot's been, I was working with one girl who had, Raynaud's disease. Yeah. And she was in the sea for like the freezing cold sea at like 6 a.m. for like an hour and a half. And her hands and feet went purple and cold. And she was like, I really need a break. And they were like, well, we've got to get the shot. And this is like huge brands. Like, I mean, think of the brands that everybody knows. And it's, you're not really that important as a model in terms of you're just kind of that vessel. But what was my point about that? Because you asked me before and you said something really interesting.
Are those types of companies as direct to the point on these?
Well, they were with me back in the day. I think they must be more careful now, or I imagine they're more careful now. I know that my management teams now are wonderful, and they haven't been as direct. And I'm older now, so I think I've got a little bit more say and a little bit, things are a little bit less scary. But I think the overarching sense that a Eurocentric beauty ideal is king or is superior, I think that is the theme of the global beauty standard.
With the bottom line being that makes more money. That's the insight?
And the bottom line being that makes more money, and the bottom line being that, and we can just take this all the way back to sort of, slavery and, if we were to look way back in history at what is seen as beautiful and Black people having to assimilate into a white society, there's so many, we can look at the caste system and we can look at lots of it. This could be a whole podcast in itself. But I think the overarching theme is white equals more beautiful and Black, brown, Indian equals less beautiful. And we can see that reflected in the media, in magazines. Just go to a shop and look at all the magazine covers. And in any country as well. Like, even I was modeling in South Africa last year and it was the same there. I've had... I remember I got my sister to send me pictures of, was it my sister or was it a friend? It might have been another friend, actually. Someone sent me a picture of a newsstand in India. Because I did a little documentary about this years ago. And I was like, you're in India, can you send me a picture of the newsstand? And it was the same, still white women and lighter skinned. That's talking a lot about the caste system and how the caste system favors fairer skin, and there's all other reasons for that. But I think it's a global beauty standard that still I think needs to be tackled. Even as a Black woman, I think brands will often choose a more Eurocentric looking Black woman.
Because I guess I'm really interested in this point, and thank you for sharing that you have a choice. You can conform to it, you get your money, you go, you live your life, or you don't conform and you talk about it and you stand up about it and you question it. And are you seeing very little on the questioning, stand up, let's make change? Or are there pockets within your industry that are trying to do that? Because this is the first time I've actually, and this is probably my naivety, so I'm not trying to pretend that I would have known. Like, I wouldn't have. Yeah. But like, it feels awful that that's happening.
I mean, I'll be honest in saying that I think the people who need to be creating that change are and bringing more diversity in it. There has been more inclusion across the media in the time that I've been modeling. I can see that. However, I think that we still have a long way to go. And I don't think there's been so much of like all the models getting together and rallying and being like, let's stand up for what's right. I have seen some micro changes in the decision makers. Who's the person that's putting, and this I think can span not just to the world of modeling, but also TV presenters, and this can span to actors. And this, this is a sort of an overall sort of what are we seeing? Who's being represented, and how are they being represented? Are we only seeing a Black man on TV if he's playing the gunman or this person stabbing you, or are we actually starting to see different narratives for Black people? Are we starting to see different narratives for Indian people, Asian people? So I think actually the decision makers and the people who are trying to tell stories differently and create more representation, like producers, like casting directors. I mean, casting directors hold the key to a lot of things, but then also the people commissioning things and paying for things are the ones that will ultimately decide who they want. But I think we have seen a lot of great change. I particularly in TV, I love a bit of telly. I do a bit of hosting myself, and I think even more recently in British television, we've seen AJ Adodu and Judy Love and Alison Hammond and like all these like brilliant, and Clara Amfo. We've seen all these like beautiful, brilliant Black women on our screens, and we didn't grow up seeing that.
Yeah,
we didn't. We saw a very different landscape. So I would say in that respect, we are seeing amazing change. I'd like to see more. I think we've maybe the conversations come a bit further for people in the Black community. I don't think as much in like the Asian space. Okay. I very rarely see Indian people on TV in different spaces. I think we still have a long way to go with different types of representation. But I think that the change is happening, but is slow, and I think it needs to be keep going. Yeah.
Well, it kind of ladders on to like, we have a set of recurring questions. So you may want to build up on that. You may want to go completely different direction. You can do whatever you like.
I'm all excited.
So what's one societal default or unwritten rule that you'd erase or rewrite if you could?
I don't know why I had to like readjust my
like
top
you were getting
for this.
Ready for
I
it.
was like, okay, yes. What is one
societal default
or
unwritten rule
you'd
completely erase or rewrite if you could?
I'd completely erase or rewrite if I could. Clothes. Like, I know this is really shallow, but saying that I had clothing anxiety a minute ago, like, why do we have to wear certain things for certain things? Because I just find clothes so restrictive sometimes. Like right now I have no shoes on. Should I do this? I have no shoes on. Look, that's really...
there were some particular requests.
That is like... That's too much, isn't it? This is why I'm still single. So, I changed my outfit like 3 times before I came here because I was just all in an ADHD fluster, and I wasn't comfortable, and I had too many like stressful emails before I came here, and I don't know what
Would you be happy in one set that you just completely wore every single day, but you could change the set?
So I've worn, I feel quite ashamed and shy about this. Not ashamed, but I feel shy, and I shouldn't because it's good for the planet, but I do feel a little embarrassed that I've pretty much been wearing the same t-shirt on Instagram like almost every time I'm on social media for like 4 years or 3 years or something. And I actually stopped posting as many Instagram stories because when I'd get inspired to say something, I realize I'm in that same t-shirt.
Okay.
And people are going to be like, girl, like, why don't you change your t-shirt? And then I was going to lie and say I had several, but that's a lie. So
you have one.
Yeah, I have one. I have this one t-shirt. It says Planet of the Solar System or something. It's like this garish, like neon colors, but it's just so comfortable. And I feel like it goes with many things. So I've been wearing this t-shirt for years. I feel like ashamed and also proud that I'm helping save the planet by reusing my clothes. But I just feel the pressure to wear something different all the time is ridiculous. When I go to red carpet events and stuff, like if anyone sees me on social media and I've been to a red carpet, just know I've cried about 6 times before attending that red carpet because of what I have to wear. There's a lot of barriers to entry for cute outfits being a size 18 in the UK market because we don't have like as many options for plus size women. But also like with my ADHD, I find things itchy and uncomfortable. And I just, and I get like decision fatigue. So
itchy and uncomfortable. Like, in what way? How does it irritate
irritates my skin? To be honest, like right now, all I can think about, not all I can think about, but a large portion of my brain for this whole podcast has been focused on how my bra feels. And I almost took my bra off, but then I was like, it's quite cold in here.
You've already got your shoes off. So
I've got my shoes off. I think it could have been one step too far. Like I was trying to be professional.
Yeah. I cut tags on my t-shirts.
Do you? Because they did it itchy.
And I was just checking, and I had done it on this first one as well.
Yeah.
Because I got irritated on the first one we were doing in here, so I just cut it off. That's why I kind of, when you said get itchy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very sensory thing, isn't it? For me, it's like clothes and smells. But again, it's crazy that I'm a full-time model because my like so many issues with clothes. Like, but yeah, I would rewrite the social rule that like you have to wear a certain thing for a certain place. Can't we all just wear harem trousers? And also, can't we all just sit in beanbag chairs? But then I'm taking it one step too far, I guess. So the beanbag chairs, yeah.
I like the thought.
I could give you something deeper than that, but that was the first thing.
What would the quickfire deeper one be?
Quickfire deeper one.
Reflection on that rewritten rule. Unwritten rule. You'd like to change.
Deeper unwritten rule of something I'd like to change in society, that it literally does not matter how much money you earn, what you do, what you have, how many cars, how many things, if you have shoes or no shoes. I currently have no shoes. Like that we are valued and judged in society by none of those things, but the person that we are and the kindness that we put out. And, you know, for me, a person is so much more special and important in the world, not because they have X amount of money in their bank account and all these things, but if they're kind and caring and thoughtful and considerate and they think of others. You know, I think, as cheesy as it might sound, I think you can be rich in having a beautiful personality. And so I wish we had a different metric, a different measuring system, also for how we value other people, how people value other people, but how we value ourselves. I think, especially right now, living in a world where we're in a cost of living crisis and it's almost impossible for young people to get on the housing ladder, and how that impacts how people feel about themselves. And but I can't do this and I don't have that and I don't have this much money. And it's like, I sometimes just want to go, but it's okay because you're a really nice person. And in the end, when you forget all the stuff, all the nonsense, like first of all, we made up money. So don't even think about that too hard because it's literally invented. So if you try and consider that we made up money.
It only has value and somebody else wants it.
Exactly. It only has value. And you know, in those apocalypse movies, when all the zombies come along and then people are like, I'll buy my way onto this plane. And they're like, money matters none in this point. Like you're not getting on, Mr. Rich Man, you know. So I wish that we had a different metric for ourselves, how we value ourselves, but also how we value others. So that's what I would change.
Nice. I like that.
I'd have a kindness currency, and there'd be loads of little coins that say K on them, and then the K, you'd like they'd come along as when you're kinder, like more of them would just get made, and you'd bank them, and then you'd lose them if you're mean. Yeah.
There we go. I quite like that.
Right? Kind points.
Kind points.
Yeah.
I used to work for a company called Kind.
Did you?
If you're listening.
I actually feel like that's going to be part of their marketing, isn't it?
That.
Can we TM that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Copyright. If you want it, you have to buy it.
Founders books up there.
Because unfortunately, kindness currency. Right. Daniel Lubitsky from Kind. If you need our kindness currency, we made that. Unfortunately, we do still need real money. So call us. And we'll split the profits.
And on a serious note now, and you don't have to answer this because you have been very open.
That was very serious.
That was very serious.
Thank you.
You have been very open on this podcast, but we ask every guest if there's anything that they've never said publicly or rarely said publicly, but perhaps you feel ready to now.
Not really. I think, you know what I would say? People probably see me as this really confident person. Like, you're so, I remember someone coming up to me once when I was hosting an event live, and they were like, you're so confident, how did you get the confidence to do this? And how, like, I wish I could have the confidence like you. I'm such a scaredy cat. I think I have fake shiny confidence, but actually I think my confidence is I have to like bolster myself up to have confidence in a lot of scenarios. So I'm actually quite quiet. I'm quite a scaredy cat. I'm quite shy. And I recently, I think I mentioned that I was just recently got into my first adult relationship, which I'm no longer in, which I'm very sad about. But I had to explain to him, like, I am really shy. I'm really shy to like, you know, kind of, and I wonder if some of this comes down to, you know, growing up as a Black woman in the UK and some of the things I mentioned. I think I've probably had some impacts to my self-esteem over the years. So I think that might be part of it, but also I think it's hard to find the confidence to move through the world, I think, for a lot of us. And I feel that quite deeply in a lot of different ways. Even if I am like on a billboard or my face like popping up on the telly or something, like I'm quite a scaredy cat.
You do come across as very confident, but that's quite honest.
Do I?
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I mean, final question.
Okay.
If we were to record this again in 2035, what do you hope we're talking about? But what do you worry we might be talking about?
If we were to record this again in 2035, I hope we would be talking about how much the world, and I'm now going to go down, maybe I should have done this in my last one, because another thing people don't know about me is I'm like such an inside hippie. Like I'm a vegan, I love the planet, and I don't know if that makes me a hippie. I just think that means I care about the planet. But I think a lot about it, and I think a lot about the world and you know, a lot of things that are going on in the world right now, and the wars that are happening, and how many people are suffering with cost of living crisis, and obviously how many people are suffering with their mental health, and I hope in 2035 we are talking about how we were able to overcome this period, and how AI helped us unlock like the secrets to good mental health and well-being, and connecting with each other, and having community, and, you know, everyone feeling supported by each other. And I hope that we would be able to have that conversation, and that we're no longer in the place we are right now in the world. I don't know if everyone else is feeling it, but I'm feeling it.
Yeah, there's a lot happening.
There's a lot happening, and it's quite hard to, sometimes it's quite hard to come to social media and be like, hi everyone.
Yeah.
Something about influencing, you know, like it's can be very challenging to do that. And it's actually I've kind of shied away from social media a little bit recently, because I'm kind of like, I don't really want to be in the middle of everything that's happening, be sharing things and not acknowledging everything that's going on. But in truth and honesty, when I work for so many different brands, there are sort of restrictions about, when I'm traveling in and out of America regularly, it's quite hard to be an activist when there are some restrictions on how much of an activist you can be publicly. I have previously been very much of an activist, and I still am in a lot of ways, but I think in a perfect world, I would not be so tied and bound to what I can share. If that makes any sense.
Follow.
You follow?
Yeah.
So I hope we would be talking about a world where what's happening is not happening anymore. AI has empowered us to live our best lives. We no longer have to do taxes, but my fear is that AI is going to, I think I mentioned earlier, like trap us and turn us into little batteries like in the Matrix. So that is kind of a fear, and I think it could be not a realistic fear, but I don't think it's impossible. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm hopeful around AI.
I am as well. But are we being ignorant? I don't know.
Perhaps. But I do believe in a world with more free time.
I do as well.
And I can see the mental health gains that gives. And the free time, and then understanding to put into your health and your wellness, and even the access to education. All these things, as long as AI is in the hands of the right people and for the right purposes. And it actually does fuel that type of growth.
Because then there's also a conversation where if we had too much free time, we'd lose our purpose. And then,
maybe purpose will come out of other things.
Maybe
not just our work anymore. Maybe we can get paid in other ways.
Yeah. But you know, like the stories of when people win the lottery, And then because they've won the lottery, they then spend all their money and they get really depressed. Or even they just have too much money and they don't know what to do with themselves. So I would hope that we're able to, you know, put that back into community and supporting each other. And I want to go back to the days of where, you know, like one person has a baby and then everyone raises the baby, and it takes a village and we're all supported. And I know that that's not really something that happens in our society as much, but I think we could take some lessons from some other cultures to live in a happier way. So
definitely. Well, on that note, hopeful note, a massive thank you for everything that you shared, and the amount of energy and love and joy that you brought into us in the middle of the day when we were recording.
It's mostly sweat and fear, but thank you.
I loved it. But a massive thank you for everything and your honesty throughout the episode today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm so excited to see what's next for your brilliant podcast. And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Shareefa reminded us that openness can save lives. You OK Hun, her campaign turned her DMs into a mirror of what so many people were carrying. She showed how a diagnosis can be so key, and so key to the early steps of her recovery. And of course, living better. Why tiny automations in her life doesn't make her weak, and in fact actually makes her more resourced, able to focus on what really matters in her life. Her refusal to meet those Eurocentric beauty standards is admirable, and is a reminder that belonging means so much more and is a personal matter. If you needed permission today to do what matters for you, hopefully this episode acted as just that. What stays with me the most is probably the most practical applications of what Shareefa shared. Really, she has kind of stood by her own identity. And whilst being unapologetic in her nature, in doing so, she has shown how you can thrive with ADHD. And of course, in a challenging sector. Sometimes it's the smallest things, right, that matter the most and can act as the biggest game changers in our life. This episode was most definitely a reminder that actually you can champion good mental health. You can be an ambassador for calm, and also at the same time need support from what you're advocating for. Shareefa talked about the fact that she needed to ring the Calm helpline. I think that's incredibly courageous to be an ambassador for a charity like that and also share that you needed help yourself. And that's completely okay. You know, what doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, we are going to need help one day. And it's important for us to be very fluent in what professional support looks like. So for me, this will always stick with me in hard days that I'm sure I will encounter in the future. And of course, had many in my life. And it is okay to turn for help. And I think it was incredible how she shared that today. The episode was definitely a reminder that mental health is fluid. Of course, you know, it's something I've thought about a lot. You know, our mental health changes in time, and we need to be ready for those difficult days. And, you know, we talked about normalizing journaling, movement, cold plunges, podcasts, and a million and one other things, but it is a strength to know what you need. And it's a sign that we all need to put our unique needs at the forefront of who we are and what we stand for. And kind of, I find myself asking, you know, what would go into my 2-item survival kit today, this month and next month, and how will that differ depending on what's happening in my life? So perhaps a moment for you to take a step back and think, what do you need in the weeks and months ahead? I, for one, have found huge benefit in sticking to my daily, weekly and monthly rituals. I'm probably dependent on them now and actually can see the impact on my body and my mind when I don't stick to some of those rituals. But I'm also dependent on the automations that I brought into my life through AI and, of course, trying to get as better and better as I can as possible. But for a ADHD mind like mine, it is a lifesaver. It's a complete game changer to be able to have a tool support you in a way that you know that your brain finds very, very difficult. And it was really interesting to hear Shareefa's reflections on that. I think AI advances are probably the single biggest reason and factor why I'm so excited for current and future generations who are neurodivergent. I think they will be coming into a world that looks and acts completely different. So today, I'm sure this may have brought up some stuff for many people listening, and I want you to know that you are not alone. Calm, the charity, offer a web chat service and a UK helpline that's available from 5 p.m. to midnight every single day. So please do reach out if you are in need of support. We'll be back next week for another episode, so hopefully see you then. Thank you.